Alright, Shalom, Shalom. First of all, most want to say Kawai Yo, Bashim Yaoshan, Bashim Harakakodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS, who do rule and teach well, GMS Great Millstone, who do rule and teach well. And today I want to get into 2nd Esdras, chapter 4. My point is in the 41st verse, maybe like the 42nd. But, just to give you some, context, Ezra, he acts a little bit above, see here in the chambers, right? Yeah. So he's basically asking, when are these things going to happen? When is, the righteous going to be gathered up, like it talks about here, the time of threshing and, all these things, which, believe was mentioned a little bit further up, was basically time of judgment. Wood consumed it, heavens and earth. No, it's up ahead. Corrupted to understand. Give me a second. Thrush. Yeah, verse 30. So it was already explained, because the whole threshing thing, it began with a process of destruction. You would have intentional destruction, which is tribulation, whatever you want to call it, which would separate. It would kind of crush the crops and whatever, and then you would throw the crops in the air, and then the useless straw would fly up, and the grain will fall to the ground, and you collect the good grain, and you would leave everything else to be destroyed. You separate the worthless, and you gather what you want, the harvest, the crop, stuff you can actually eat and use. They also use the ears of corn as a similitude. Constantly farming is being used as a separation between the wicked and the righteous. You get the ears, you take the cob out of the ears. The ears you get rid of, but you want the cob. Like, who wants the full ear of corn? No one wants the leaves. People, when they get corn, they want the actual corn on the cob. The cob itself, the actual plant, so you can eat it. All right, so basically he's asking, when are these things going to happen? So, when's the end going to come? And, the Archangel Uriel, which Uriel is an Archangel. It says angel sometimes, but other times it says Archangel. Uriel's an Archangel, man. I'm getting tongue-tied, But, Uriel is an Archangel, because sometimes it says the angel Uriel, but other times it says the Archangel Uriel. So he is an Archangel. Regardless of what you see, he is an Archangel. They're just a stronger angel, basically. So I'm just going to get to the point here. So we get into this, right? So he's basically asking, so 2nd Esdras 4:39, for our sakes peradventure is that the floors of the righteous are not filled because of the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. Right? So based on how full threshing floor is, you can tell how good of harvest there is. And Esdras is basically asking, maybe it's because the righteous are not righteous enough that the deliverance hasn't come yet. Right? So he answered me and said, right, if our peradventure is that the floors of righteous are not filled because of the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. Right? So he answered me and said, go thy way to a woman with child, and asked of her, when she had fulfilled her 9 months, if her womb may keep the birth any longer within her. Right? And the answer is obviously no. Right? As you're going to say, verse 41, then said I, no, Lord, that she cannot. And he said unto me, and the greater the chambers of the souls are like the womb of a woman. Okay? So this completely destroys the hell doctrine, because it talks about in the grave, there's a chamber of souls. So you're supposed to go to hell, you're supposed to burn forever. Why is that not mentioned? Why is a burning fire not mentioned, but it talks about a chamber of souls? Because hell and the grave are the same place, man. Hell, Sheol, so on and so forth. We know that breakdown already, It's the grave. It's the earth, man. Where the bodies go. Right. This book of Job 3:12. Why the knees prevent me, or why the breast I should suck. For now I should have lain still and been quiet. I should have slept. Then had I been at rest with kings and councils of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or princes that had gold, filled the houses with silver, as in hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. Did the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest? Did the prisoners rest together, and they hear not the voice of the oppressor? The small and great are there, and a servant is free from his master. And that's what goes on in the chamber of souls. There's no more sin, there's no more suffering, there's no more death, there's no more pain. Once you're in the spirit world, there's there's none of that. There's no sex and marriage, obviously. In the spirit world, and yeah, you just pretty much sit there, and as the Archangel Uriel is making a similitude, when you're in there, you're there for a set amount of time. It's around about every third or fourth generation, around about 100 years, then you're reincarnated upon the earth. So look at your birth date. If you go around about 100 years before then, chances are you're probably your great-great-grandfather coming back, or possibly your great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, or great-grandfather. Around about that time is who you were in your past life. Not to be look too deeply into things, because you could be wrong. You could say, oh, I'm my great-grandfather coming back, and what if you're your great-great-grandfather coming back? So who knows? Don't really worry about those things. You are who you are right now, and this is your last life. So, make use of it. Verse 42, 2 422, 42. For like as a woman that travaileth, maketh haste to escape the necessity of the travail, even so do these places haste to deliver those things that are committed unto them. Right, so when you die, your spirit goes to the spiritual world. The waiting time in heaven is 3 or 4 generations, right? So it's the same thing, basically, as I said. When your waiting time is over, once those around about 100 years, around about 75 to 100 years are passed up, around that range, you're spewed onto the earth. You literally are dropped upon the earth as you would be in the ancient world. I mean, nowadays you're born on a fucking medical table, but back then you were literally, the one would be upright, and you would literally pop right down. I shouldn't have made the little sound effect, but I was trying to be silly. But you literally pop out, you fall down to the earth, which is the way things were. It talks about that with swaddlings. The swaddlings closed. Swaddling. Yeah. Wisdom of Solomon 7:1. I myself, Wisdom of Solomon 7:1. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring to him that was first me on the earth, right? Because you're the offspring of your daddy, who had to been on the earth before you to make you, right? He had to, put the seed inside your mom for you to come on the earth, right? You can't get on the earth before your dad. It's impossible. Verse 2, and in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh, at a time of 10 months, being compacted with blood and the seed of man, the pleasure that came with sleep. This goes right back to what we were talking about, the time of birth. Actually, as a spirit, I didn't even think of using this one. Honestly, I could precept that right to the 41st verse. I honestly didn't even think of that. But yeah, that's a good idea. So around about 9-10 months or so, it's the time of a woman before she could give birth, being compacted in blood, the seed of man, the pleasure that came with sleep, right? Yep. Sleep, when you're in your mother's womb, when you're in your mother's womb. But could also mean sex as well, but obviously he wasn't having sex in his mother's womb. It's ridiculous, right? And when I was born, I drew in the common air, fell upon the earth, which is of like nature, and the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. And I was nursed in swaddling's clothes, and that with cares, right? So as soon as the 10 months was over, Solomon was, dropped upon the earth, drew in the common air, and he started to cry, as all babies do, you know. And basically, what he's saying, Angel Uriel is saying, is likening that unto the prophecies. All these things happen one after the other, as in these things, right? So that's pretty much that. These things are not. Everything's meant to happen at its appointed time. Is basically what the Archangel Uriel is trying to explain to Ezra, which he was also really explaining it to us in these times, because we're the successors, and literally the prophets coming back. We're the successors. We're upholding the same ideals and bringing back the same work. We ask the same questions, which we have a lot of answers to a lot of different things. We actually know more than the prophets because we have the details. The prophets didn't have the details, but we do, right? It's like here in the end, verse 52, he answered me and said, as for the tokens were the acts of me, I may tell thee of them in part, but such is life I am not sent to shew thee, for I do not know it. Because Ezra was asking if he was going to be alive in those days, in these end days. Which he knew. He said, well, it was me. What should I do in those days? Ezra knew he was going to be alive in those days. Ezra's on the earth right now. We don't know who Ezra is or where he is. He could be in the GMS camp. He could be in affiliates. But he's out there. We don't really know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to talk about the Chamber of Souls. That's another name for heaven, Chamber of Souls. And when you die, and your soul and your spirit go up, you enter the Chamber of Souls, and you're there for that 75 to 100-year time period. While you're there, there's no suffering, there's no pain. And you just pretty much just sit there and you wait. Get your judgment before Yahweh Shai, and you wait, and then when the time is ready, they push you out, and you're sent right out. There's no wait, can I have another 200 years up in here, man? Like, please don't send me back out. No, you leave immediately. That's pretty much it. Little on you brothers out there, whoever happens to watch this, got something from it, got edified, got built up in the spirit, and shalom.